All right, empowered leaders. Oh my gosh, this is Thanksgiving week. Thanksgiving week, you guys, can you believe it? Go ahead and open up your chat if you're on your computer, and then just what is something that you just feel so grateful for right in this moment? It doesn't have to be the biggest thing you're grateful for, the most profound thing in your life, just one thing that in this very moment you are so grateful for. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I feel so grateful for a healthy body. Because even to be able to do something like that, like dancing around, loud music, hanging out with all of you guys, it just feels so good to feel good, right? Happy kids, Carity, amen. Yes, love. Kids are way more fun when they're happy. Maddie made guacamole yesterday and he's grateful for it and he's eating it right now. Good job, Maddie. Wi-Fi in the woods so she can still be on this call. Yes, Lori is in Montana today. The sound of tin whistles in my house. Tin whistles? What are those, Amy Evans? I love it. Keep the gratitudes coming, you guys. We should be grateful every single day for everything that we have. But I love this time of year and what it brings out in people. And so we want to really celebrate that. And I know Hannah's grateful for clean kids. Good job, Hannah, with bath time. I love it. And then Cherie, ability to just move whenever I want with ease. Amen, girl. It just feels so good to move your body. I can always tell when I haven't been moving enough in a day. I feel so stagnant and frustrated, and that's not a good way to live your life. So, oh, look at that clean little peanut. Good job, Hannah. I love it. You guys, what an amazing, like seriously, we have some amazing people on this team who are willing to sacrifice and just do whatever it takes to be on these calls and get plugged in. So proud of you all. Okay, so we are in week 2 of our mindset series. And I know that we have so many people who are just joining us. We're not able to be on week 1. And so it's important to me that you really understand what this series is all about, because it definitely came from a place of intentionality and it's for you. Now, for this mindset series in general, the point of this is that we want you to imagine that you wake up in the morning excited about your life because you know what you're capable of and you actually trust yourself to reach your potential. Imagine what it would feel like to go through the day attracting success in all areas of your life, your interactions, your relationships, your business, your finances. And now imagine your head hits that pillow every single night and you have an overwhelming sense of fulfillment and excitement about being awake. You cannot wait to wake up the next day. Like, who could get on board with a life like that, right? That is what this mindset series is about, is really just fine-tuning the little bits and pieces in your life that just are helping you feel stuck. Okay, this series is designed to challenge you so you can move that needle closer to success. All right, this isn't going to be like, we want to help you break through some big wall and, cinder block shattering everywhere. Life is not really like that, you guys. It's literally moving that needle forward a little bit at a time. Now, if you feel stuck, like you can't wait for your day to be over, like you think about success more than you live in it, then this series is for you. Okay, and that's what it's designed for. Now, some of you got a taste of this already last week, and for those who weren't with us live last week, here's what you can expect from these calls. Now, each week we're going to kick off the call with a success story. And now, why would we do that? We want to celebrate people, right? Like, recognition is a big part of our team culture, but we hear a lot of product success stories and a lot of business success stories. But what about mindset? We talk about mindset so much and how important it is to be able to shift your mindset about things in order to be successful with network marketing and with your health. Mindset is huge. So that's our focus. And we want to bring people in who've had those mindset breakthroughs, those success stories, and share them with you so that you can see other people doing the journey that you're doing, and you can have other people to relate to. It's another way to bring our team closer together and celebrate each other. So after the success stories, we will jump into the mindset topic. And now each week, we're going to be focusing on the skills essential to success with Isagenix. And our intention with this series is that we really equip you to be aware of what's holding you back and show you how to take one step. What's the word? One step in the direction you need to go. Okay, no more being stuck. Stuck is a mindset. It is not a reality. But I really want you to focus on one step at a time, because we get this idea in our head that we have to have some huge breakthrough moment, right? That's not what this is about. It's how can you take one step today and then one step tomorrow. Some days you'll take 10 steps. Other days you'll take a few back. Some days you just sit. but we really want to help you focus on those daily consistent actions, and that's what's really going to help you be successful. And so with that, let's kick off our call tonight with a success story like we just talked about. Super, super excited. The person who's sharing their success story tonight, I'm beaming already. I met this woman when she joined Isagenix almost 2 years ago. And she is someone that when you meet her, you instantly feel energized and happy, like total ray of sunshine. And to know her is to love her. And so some of you already know who I'm talking about. Now, although I didn't know her at all before she started her Isagenix journey, when she shared her mindset shift with me, I was blown away. Her growth in the last couple of years has truly added value to her life and so many lives around her. So I'm excited to bring Carity Maurer onto the call to share her mindset success story. Carity, are you with us?
I'm here.
Hi, Carity.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for having me. You guys got a little bit choked up when Rachel was giving her introduction to me, so I'm starting this off a little bit teary. Okay. So anyways, one area where my mindset has completely changed is kind of interesting. So I basically just changed my thoughts on people. Like when I'm out and about, I was focused. I had a mission. I had my kids with me. I often wasn't really paying attention to anybody else. So my mindset of people has changed. Meeting new people, connecting with strangers, being more open and vulnerable. I want to leave people better than they were before. Whereas before, I would just kind of do my thing and pass them. I wouldn't really say hi, or I wouldn't compliment them. And I didn't notice until now. When I reflect back, now I notice that wasn't really making me feel better, and it certainly wasn't serving others. So now I get to brighten their days. It's not about what's in it for me. It's about how can I bless another person, whether it doesn't even have to be talking about Isagenix at all. It could be a compliment or just a sincere smile or opening the door. So that has definitely been amazing for me. And then life before Isagenix, I didn't feel like I needed to meet new people and make new friends either. I felt so blessed with the solid friendships that I had, and I thought that if I met new people, that maybe it would take away from my energy to pour into my existing friendships that I had. So I now feel like I'm able with to embrace new friendships and pour energy into new people, because I have discovered that I have plenty of it to share. And it's been tenfold back to me with the amazing relationships that I've been able to form. And that is just a huge blessing in itself. So having that open mindset about pouring into others and making new friendships can't go wrong. And then my catalyst for change was when I was introduced to Isagenix. My husband joined me, and then I reached out immediately to some friends to really come along with me. And then we all had transformations in a different form. Like we didn't all have the same sort of victories, but that's what's so beautiful about it. So simultaneously, when I shared it with them to get started, I also earned money back. And I was like, this is pretty cool. I think I could get used to this, because then I started to get paid on Mondays, and I was like, even Rachel will totally giggle about this, and so will Amanda. I'd be like, I made some money and I don't even know what I did. I had to figure out what a cycle was and how did that happen. It wasn't really working. It was such a beautiful thing. So then I can just share with you my mindset really transformed just by staying plugged in. I was introduced because Rachel and Amanda had shared with me these Monday night team calls, and just stay plugged in, get on the calls, get to events, share that with all of your friends and family. And then I wanted to hear other transformations, financial transformations. Like, is this something that is for me? Could this work for me while I'm staying home with my kids, which is my priority? And just hearing other people's stories, I was like, this is absolutely for me. I would be silly to not do this. I love the products. The compensation plan is incredible. Why wouldn't I? There's zero downfalls. So that was how my journey kind of happened. It's just such an awesome thing. I'm so blessed.
You are awesome, Carity. Anyone else feel like Between the dance party and the little ray of sunshine we have here with Carity, like your energy, like who's gonna be able to sleep tonight? Like nobody. Carity, thank you so much for sharing your story with us and really just being willing to be transparent about that, because I think it's so hard for us to even be able to admit that before Isagenix allowed us to be intentional about friendships, it can be really easy just to let people pass you by day to day and not realize what a blessing you can offer people just by saying hi or offering a smile or asking how their day went. And so I love that you were very real about that, because I think some of us even still can learn from that example. So thank you so much for sharing. Good girl. She already muted herself. Okay, awesome. You guys, throw Carity some love in the chat. I know that she has access to her chat and she's going to be able to see it, but think about how much courage it takes to really be authentic with your journey and what you've been through and how you've grown. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is personal growth and the mindset behind it of why people don't do it, and then how you can bust through that. But for Carity to be able to hop on there and just to be able to share very openly, like, this is how I used to feel and this is how I feel now, and she's still growing in that every day, but that awareness is so powerful. So yeah, throw her some love in the chat. She definitely deserves it. That was awesome for her to hop on tonight and share that with us. So tonight, we are going to focus on personal growth mindset. Okay, now so many of us do personal growth all the time, right? That's a huge part. We call this a personal growth company with a compensation plan. And there's a reason for that, because so much of what we do is around personal growth. We've had people come to Isagenix events with us who've been to other company events, have been to other personal development conferences, have been to an array of different types of things like that. And hands down, they come away from our events talking about the difference and the elevated level of intention on personal growth. That the attention that Isagenix puts into developing us as people is so different. And I take so much pride in that, don't you guys? Think about that. If Isagenix is the only company I've ever been with, but before this, I worked at a university where we took students to conferences all the time, at least every few months, all over the country, and they'd get together with like-minded college students, leaders on their campuses, the top 1% of leaders on campuses across the country, get together every few months. Sound familiar? There's nothing that compares to what we have with Isagenix, because, well, one, that was thousands and thousands of like 20-year-olds, very different. But think about that culture of what we have and how important that is. So then why is it that some of us still feel blocked? And we're going to dive into that right now. So a lot of this I'm gleaning from John Maxwell. I've been diving into his books and podcasts. A lot of it I'm getting from some other resources. I'm going to give you all those at the end. But I really just want to dive in. And the first thing I want you to understand is that growth is the only guarantee that tomorrow is going to get better. The first time I heard that, I was like, wow. Growth is the only guarantee that tomorrow is going to get better. And the only way to grow is intentionally. And we're going to talk about what that is. How do you grow intentionally? Because in order to grow, for tomorrow to be better, you have to be growing. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about. Now, as we begin in the chat, I want to know from you, what is stopping you from pursuing or implementing intentional personal growth? Throw it in the chat right now. What is stopping you from pursuing or implementing intentional personal growth? So let me give you some examples. So when I say pursuing, that means what's stopping you from actually diving into personal development consistently or at all? Or what's stopping you from putting that personal development, that self-education, into action? What are the things that are stopping you? Now, some of the things that I've heard over time are things like fear, like what will people think of me if I change? Time is another one. Maybe feeling like I get too much personal development, or not even knowing where to start. So if any of those resonate with you, throw those in the chat. If there's one that's different, if you've thought of one that's different, please throw that in the chat too. I want to tailor this to make sure that I hit on the most common ones so that we can really dive into those tonight. Okay? Thank you. I won't repeat. I've had a few people send that to me privately, so I won't repeat that just because I want to honor your privacy. But thank you. For those of you, the 3 of you who just sent me messages privately on the chat, thank you. And we will definitely go over those. Okay, perfect. So keep them coming. You can send it to me privately or so that everyone can see too. You're absolutely your call. If you send this, just so you guys know, if you send things to me privately in the chat, I won't repeat it. Okay. I want to honor that. Okay. So, now, you're going to notice a lot of trends throughout this series, like some of the ones I just read to you. When you think about what's holding you back in one aspect of your life, it's most likely bleeding over into other areas of your life. So for those of you who were able to join us live last week, you're going to hear a lot of the people are struggling with the same things with social media and with personal development. I mean, in my mind, those two things aren't really super connected as far as like the tangible action, but why people don't do them, it's actually really similar. So that's one thing as I was preparing for this series that I really noticed. So let's go ahead and jump into it. A couple of the folks who chatted privately brought up the fear one. The what are they going to think of me? Okay, so I'm going to do that one first. So thank you, the two of you who messaged that to me. Thank you so much. Okay, so one of the things with fear and wondering like what will people think about me, the first thing that comes to mind is that part of this could be coming from the upper limit called disloyalty and abandonment. Okay, now remember an upper limit is that kind of invisible ceiling that we all learn to operate under. If you've never read The Big Leap, I highly recommend it. Shocking. But that upper limit is what stunts our growth. Now we all have them, and thus we all need to learn what our upper limits are so we can bypass them to create room for abundance in our lives. We all have them. We all have at least one. There are 4 total, but we all operate under at least one. I have 2, and one of them is disloyalty and abandonment. So that's why when I think of not growing out of fear or what will they think of me, one of the reasons for that could be that upper limit. Okay, so disloyalty and abandonment, this upper limit, it tethers you to people from your past. And I use the word tether because I'm imagining this leash, but it's kind of stretchy, right? Sometimes you feel like you're getting further away from who you used to be, and it feels good and it's exciting, and then all of a sudden something bounces you right back. Does that sound familiar? If this resonates with you, I want to throw that in the chat too. I want this to be interactive, you guys. I'm here showing up for you, like show up back. Tell me if this resonates with you. But that tether analogy, think about that. Okay, it's going this way, boom, comes back to you. Now, excuse me. Yes, perfect. Thank you, guys. Okay, so now these people from your past, they can still be a part of your present, right? But how they knew you, that's what's tethering you here. Every time you bounce back, you're falling back into who they knew you as before you started growing. Or however far they've grown, that's as far as they know you. Okay, and if you haven't watched the video on people pleasing, that's an Empowered to Lead, I highly recommend searching for that. Now, think about those people. Whoever they're comfortable with you being is the person that you slide into to make them happy with you. Okay, remember people pleasing. We're going to talk about that in a second. But your current mindset, if you have this fear or what are they going to think of me or am I going to change too much for the people in my life, your current mindset is something along the lines of, how can I make them happy with me? And that's people pleasing. But your goal mindset with this is, how can I be happy with me, or how can I help them be happy? Do you hear the difference? Your current mindset is what's choking you, and it's probably something like, how can I make them happy with me? That's what I call people pleasing. But your goal mindset is, how can I be happy with me, or how can I help them be happy? Period. Not happy with me. How can I help them be happy? Period. Okay, you have to put that period there before you add the with me. That's the tether. With me, you don't want that. Put the period there. How can I help them be happy? Or how can I be happy with me? Sometimes you struggle with both, right? Okay, so the first thing you need to ask yourself, who are they? Write down the names of the people that you are worried about. It could be one person, it could be 10 people, but write those names down. Acknowledge and be aware of who are the people you are tethered to. Again, this does not make them bad people. It just makes you different. And something's holding you back, and you obviously want to make a change in that. And so I want to empower you to really acknowledge and be aware of what is actually holding you back. And sometimes what is holding you back is a person. Is that relationship that you have with that person. It's the misconception you have of that person, whatever it is. We can dig in deeper with that a little bit later. Okay, so write these names down. And then ask yourself this question as you're looking at these names of these people that you love. A lot of these people you probably adore. They're probably your family, your close friends. I know for me, that's who it is. It's my family and my close friends from high school. Okay, but if today, you have to trade lives with these people indefinitely, would you do it? I would be willing to guess the answer is no. And if that's the case, then why are you giving their opinion any weight in your success? For real though, why? That's what you need to explore and be aware of, because it's not about them, it's about you. And if you wouldn't trade lives with them, then you're using them as a crutch to hold yourself back. And maybe no one's told you that yet. But don't use them as a crutch. Love them. Ask, how can I help them be happy? Not happy with me. How can I help them be happy? Now, maybe when I asked that question, would you trade lives with these people indefinitely? Maybe you did say yes. Now, I doubt many of you answered this way just from personal experience, but just in case, if you are worried what this person will think of you and you would absolutely trade lives with them, then have peace. Have peace, because they are people who respect what matters, okay? And because their respect also matters, there's little that solicits respect from others more than living boldly. Just grow. Grow, shine your light. The people you respect and admire will be attracted to that. Okay, the people that you want to please probably won't be at first, and that's okay. They still need to know where to go, because their world is probably small and dark, and you can be that light for them. And it is scary. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and tell you that this whole journey of growth and becoming a different person than what everybody wants me to be back home, has been easy or fun. Most of the time it's really fulfilling, but sometimes it hurts. It hurts really bad. And some of you on here know some of my story, and it hasn't been easy, but it's been worth it. I would go back and do it all over again, the same. Well, I mean, I would probably work my business differently, but would I stunt my own growth? No, absolutely not. I want to grow faster. Knowing what I know now, I'd still choose growth every day. Okay, so action steps. If you are someone who struggles with fear or what will they think of me mindset, so here are some of your action steps with this list of names that you have. Again, the list could be one name, it could be 10. I hope it's not 100. That might be too many people that you're worried about. But with this list of names, spend time this week reaching out to each of these people to add value to their life, whatever that looks like. No expectation, no agenda, no, don't put any weight on the outcome. Add value to their life in whatever way that looks like. It's Thanksgiving week. What an amazing time to reach out to people you care about, no matter how you're feeling about them, even if there's resentment or anything because you're trying to grow and they're trying to hold you back, whatever it is, let it all go and just reach out and add value to these people. Humanizing these people is so important because it will take the pressure off of their opinion, but it also boosts your confidence on what you have to offer them, because you are a person of value and you have value to add. Okay, and I really encourage you, your next action step is to go into Empower to Lead, and in the search bar, type in people pleasing and watch that video, because in there I do a graphic, a drawing that will kind of explain to you what that mindset is looking like. And that visual, I've been told, is really helpful for understanding why we people please, why that's something that we struggle with. Okay, and then the next action step for you guys is to share your growth journey and goals with them. Okay, these are the people you're afraid to grow because of. So share your growth journey with them. Okay, just like what Charity did at the beginning. Who did you used to be? Now, I wouldn't describe everything about you that is also them. You don't want to make it obvious that you are trying to not be like them anymore. But just like, what is something about yourself that you're just like so struggling with? It could be self-worth. It could be, whatever that is. And then tell them how you've changed and how excited you are. And not like, oh, I want to take you with me, or, oh, come do this with me. It's just like, expect them to be happy for you because they should be, because they love you. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. If they're excited about your growth journey, keep sharing with them consistently on a regular basis. And if they're not, move on. They don't need to be a part of your growth, and that's okay. All right. And the last action step for people who are struggling with this is to develop a personal growth plan. I will talk about that more at the end. All right, the second thing that a lot of people actually said was time. Okay, so if you have any qualms with time, I don't have time for this, whatever that is, your current mindset is most likely you are a victim of time. Okay, and your goal mindset is you want to be the maker of time. All right, now I'm going to go back to the Big Leap and to Einstein time and how he talks about that. You don't have time. Time is not like a tangible thing that you hold on to that you just exchange and hand to people. Like, oh yes, I have time for you. Let's go have coffee. Oh, here, I have time for you. Let's talk on the phone for an hour. Like, that's not actually how time works. I know that's kind of how we talk about time, but it's giving us this misconception that we don't have time. Oh no, I don't have time for that. I'm busy. I'm overwhelmed. I'm frantic. I must not have any time. Instead, you make time. Now, I'm not saying you physically make time. God makes time. God is awesome. But you make time for things. You make time for what's important. Okay? So let me ask you this. Kind of wrap your head around this. Do you value success? You can just answer to yourself or not or whatever. Do you want to be successful with Isagenix? Now, what if I ask it like this? Are you willing to become successful with Isagenix? Are you willing to become the person it takes to be successful? Do you hear the difference? Okay, let me try that again. Do you want to be successful with Isagenix? Are you willing to become successful with Isagenix? Is the answer the same? Was that a little harder to answer the second one? Because I'll be honest with you, even after 3 years of doing this, and we have so many people tell us all the time that, oh, I can't wait to be where you are. It's an amazing place to be, you guys. It's an amazing place to be. But are you willing to become successful with Isagenix? When I ask myself those two questions, in anything, not just in Isagenix, but do I want something? Am I willing to become something? Okay. Do I want to, like, use your health goals, for example? Do I want to be fit and fabulous? Am I willing to become fit and fabulous? Do you hear the difference? I encourage you to start asking yourself questions about your life based on the latter question. Are you willing to become whatever that is? Okay, now the reason that I'm asking you this is because do you want to know what people value? People value what they spend their time on. Time needs to be valued like your best friend. Are you willing to become something? Time is your best friend to make that happen. Yes, there are a lot of other factors. Yes, there's some skills, all of those things. But I want to talk to you about the mindset around time and really how screwed up it is. Are you willing to become? Become, it kind of implies time. Become is like, you have to become something. It's going to take time to do that. Do you want something? Implies it's tangible. I can give it to you now. Do you want to be successful with Isagenix? Tangible. I have time for that. Here, I'm giving this to you. But we know that's not how it works, right? You have to make time for the things that are important to you. Are you willing to become successful in Isagenix? Make time for it. Okay? So the example I used last week applies here too. When you talk to someone about the business and they say, I don't have time for that, but then you get like a Candy Crush invite from them on Facebook and you're like, really? What? You don't have time? Because we know, we have an elevated way of thinking and we understand that they're going to spend their time on the things that are important to them, or they're living in a life of laziness or depression or whatever it is that's not making them want to move forward. Or maybe they post on social media. This one's my favorite. I see this like every day. Hey everyone, I need a new show on Netflix to binge on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, with the amount of time you spend on watching Netflix, you could build an empire. Right? Is anyone else a little frustrating? So who who that person is, right? Now let's be real. I'm going to be very real with you right now. That person is probably you. If you feel convicted about how you spend your time, then you desperately need to do a time audit to make the shifts necessary to feel good about your day. Because when your head hits that pillow, you just want to feel like, I did good. I nailed it. You're not going to feel like that every day. Some days you're going to feel like, okay, that was a good day. I did really well. When's the last time you were able to say that to yourself? Don't you want to feel that way? That instead of just thinking about your business all the time, you're giving your business all the time? Does that make sense? Okay, that was good. I just made that up on the spot. That was good. Okay, so action steps for time strugglers. All right, do a time audit. Do an audit. Map out how you would. So do an audit of like, we'll say like the last 24 hours, or just pick a day. Pick a day where you're like, yeah, I could have done that day better. Or when's the last day that you felt really frustrated about how you spent your time, or you wasted a lot of time that day. Do a time audit. and then map out how you would have done that day differently, and then do that day. Like, here's the day, and not so great. Okay, if I could do it over again at 8 a.m. instead of hitting the snooze button, I would have made sure I was already at the gym. So I would have gotten up at 7 or, whatever. What would be that? How would you change that day? And the reason I say to do it off of a day that already exists is because I've done the whole like create your perfect day before and then try to live it out. And I'm always way unrealistic and over enthusiastic about how much time my children are going to let me have. So pick a day that's already existed that you know is possible. Pick a day that you know actually happened, and then just make little tweaks to that day. And then do that new day. Do it tomorrow, do it next week, but do it soon. And really see what you're capable of, right? Hindsight's 20/20. Okay, guess what? You have the gift of being able to look back, see what you would have wanted to do differently, and then try again. Just do it again, but do it differently. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, if you have questions, throw them in the chat or do the little raise hand option and I'll definitely answer those. And then the last action step for the people with the time is to develop a personal growth plan. Give me more plugs. I'm going to talk about that at the end. All right, so the other thing that someone brought up was not knowing where to start. Okay, so one thing I would ask you with this is, if you're not sure where to start with personal development, I would ask you, how long have you felt this way? Now, if this call is really the first time you've really been exposed to the ideas behind personal growth and self-education, then welcome. Like, welcome. This is going to be a fantastic journey. But everyone else, I encourage you to be honest with yourself about what's really holding you back. Okay, because the way that I see it, and this may not apply to everybody, but for a lot of you, your current mindset around this could be that of a victim. Like, well, I don't know where to start, so I'm just not going to. But I would encourage you to have a goal, your goal mindset, to be a problem solver. I don't know where to start. That's a problem. So solve it. Okay, so we talked about something last week that's worth repeating here. And this, again, I want to help you kind of understand this mindset that you have, and then you can really break through it in your own way. So imagine if, starting today, every person across the globe unanimously agreed to only operate their lives based on what they currently know. Starting today. No more growth. No more learning. No more collaborating. Everything stops today, and the rest of the world, the rest of our lives, are operated under what we know in this very moment. The end. You guys feel the weight of that? That would, I can't even fathom what would actually happen. I don't even know how long it would take to unravel everything, but my gosh, humanity would crumble, right? Now, to hit a little closer to home, imagine if Jim and Kathy Coover and John Anderson, if you don't know, are amazing founders of Isogenics. Imagine if they decided to stay in retirement. Like, come on. Imagine, you guys, what if they had stayed in retirement? I'd still be tired. I'd still be chubby. I'd still be miserable financially, either giving all my time to someone else's dream or scraping by, living paycheck to paycheck. I'm still at home with my kids, but we have no money, right? So why are you operating that way for your own life? If you have retired from growth, if you've retired yourself from growth, it's time to come out of retirement. Okay, I'm giving you permission. If you don't know where to start, or you've stopped and you don't know how to get back into it, you've gone into retirement, I give you permission to come out of retirement. Okay, pull a Coover, come on out, show the world what you have for it. Okay? Now, something to think about. When you choose not to do something because you don't know how to do it, you are choosing your current state as the best it will ever be. You're settling. And if no one's ever said that to you before, I'm here to love on you and tell you, you don't have to settle. Okay, you do not have to stay exactly how you are right now. You are probably really awesome. I have no doubt. We have amazing people on this team, in this culture, in this company, in this community. But remember what I said? What if everyone decided to stay the same and no one ever grew? Where's your responsibility in that? Why are you any different than the rest of the world? You are a part of this community, this culture, this team. We all need to grow together, okay? Now, think about it like this too. How did you learn to walk? You watched other people do it. You tried your own version of it. You got up, you fell down, you got up again, you failed a lot, right? So then how do you dive into personal growth and self-education? You plug into these calls. empowered to lead. Like Charity said, how did she have this amazing mindset growth about people, relationships? The most amazing, fulfilling thing we have in this life is relationships with other people. How did she change her mindset around that? She stayed plugged in to this community. Okay. Now, the other way to dive in is, who are the people that you have access to who are intentional about their growth? Who are those people in your life? Ask them. Ask them what they recommend. Okay, I'm going to get into that in a second, like some things you can ask them. You could also Google personal growth. I love Google. I use it all the time, every day, all day long. If I don't know something, I Google it. It's kind of the millennial in me. My husband and I are talking and we don't know the answer to something. We try really hard to figure it out on our own for about 14 seconds. And then we're like, one of us is on our phones, like looking it up already. Whatever, it's the way of the world, right? You can Google personal growth and come up with so many different options. I highly recommend finding someone you respect and asking where you think that you should start from them, because there are going to be a ton of options on Google, a lot. Okay, and you have so many options, but you just got to get started. All right, so action steps for you guys. Reach out to someone you respect, someone who's intentional, and ask them what their favorite book is, who they follow for their own growth journey, things like that. Just ask them, where do you recommend that you get started? Explain to them what you're struggling with or some of the areas you want to grow in. And we're going to talk about that when we talk about developing a personal growth plan. But come to them being coachable, being open. Because if you're just doing this because Rachel Briscoe told you to do it on a team call and you don't actually really plan on implementing it, you're not respecting their time. Anytime you ask for someone else's time to give you input on something, be so intentional that you're going to put it into action. And the best reward you can give somebody when you ask their advice on something and you're like, okay, no, I want to implement this, is to come back and tell them how it went, good or bad. That shows us that you care and respect our time and that you want to grow, and that makes people want to pour more into you. Okay, that's a bonus. That's extra credit. You're welcome. Okay, and then another action step is develop a personal growth plan. Again, I will talk about that so soon, I promise. Okay, the last point I want to make for some of you, one of you shared privately, again, I'm not going to say, but one of you shared privately about just feeling like you've just done too much. You're like, it's all starting to sound the same, So, okay, so personal development saturation. Okay, I actually put this one in my notes for me because I have felt this way previously, and I'm so glad somebody else brought it up. So if you're feeling saturated by personal development, there's so much out there, it all sounds the same, this, that, or the other. Your current mindset is that you've had too much personal growth, or it's all starting to sound the same, right? But your goal mindset with this is how can I put this into action? Let me explain. Without fail, you guys, every single time I have felt this way, it's because of one thing: lack of action. Most things in life can be attributed to that, but lack of action. So once you get to a place where you know your flavor of self-education, like who you like to follow or what's your favorite medium, like books or podcasts, things like that. Once you understand that, personal development becomes more habitual, right? It's just easier to do it because you already have like a way that you like to do it. You've figured out what your flavor is, right? And it should be that way. Personal development should be something you're doing intentionally every single day. All right. But when I start to feel saturated by it, like every book sounds the same and every podcast sounds the same, it's because I'm the same. Did you catch that? When you start to feel like everything you're hearing in books, at events, in podcasts, whatever, when it's all starting to sound the same and you're reading and you're not really getting much out of it because you're like, gosh, I've heard this like 5,000 times before. It's because you're the same. Have you noticed how you can read something one time, then read it again a year later, and you get something different out of it? Have you ever noticed that? Same with events, right? That's because you are different. The information literally did not change. It's a book, you guys. It's written words. It's a book. It's the same. The information did not change, but you did. So if you feel stagnant in your growth because you've had too much of it, and it's all starting to sound the same or it's starting to feel overwhelming, it's because you are the same. Action will change that. Because if you put your self-education into action, You have to change. There's no other outcome. You have to change. Okay, so action will yield that change, and then go back and I've read The Big Leap 4 times, and I got something different out of it every single time. 2 of those times were back to back. I ended it and I'm like, I need more. And I went back and I read it again. Okay, that doesn't happen unless I'm changing, right? The book literally did not change. The only thing that changed in it was that it was more highlighted, more torn up, and there was more notes in it. But the words were the same. Does that make sense? Okay, thank you guys. All right, action steps. If this is you, if you're feeling saturated by personal growth, or you're feeling like it's all sounding the same, it's boring, whatever. If that's you, go through your notes from previous calls, from previous events, anything. If you've been in Isagenix for more than a month, you have a notebook lying around somewhere with notes in it from events, from calls, from podcasts, from some speaker you went to or whatever. Grab that notebook, pick an idea, any idea you want. Pretend this is a highlighter. I don't know where my highlighter went. Grab your highlighter, go through and just pick like 5 or something ideas that jump out at you. Go through and really dive into them and think, what can I put into action right away? What is an idea or a tactic or something that sticks out to you, and implement it immediately. Immediately. Okay? And your second action step is to develop a personal growth plan. So before I get into the personal growth plan, because remember, my promise to you guys is that I'm going to go through the why not, why are we stuck in these different mindsets every single week. But then I'm also going to give you tangibles of the how, because I think that's so important to get both and get the marriage of both of them. And I am going to get you out at 7, I hope. So as we're prepping and transitioning into the last part of this call, in the chat, please, you guys share, what are your biggest takeaways so far? Okay, what is one action step you're going to take today based on what you've heard? Right, so throw that in the chat. I would love to get that feedback. Remember, if you want to share it privately, I will not say it out loud. Otherwise, if you say it publicly, I would love to share it with everyone else so that they feel more inspired on their own journey. Okay, so tangibles, my favorite. Tangibles are like my love language. Okay, so we're going to talk about tangibles. I would really encourage you all, if you have not been grabbing a pen or writing anything down, go ahead and grab one, because I'm going to give you some tangible action steps and things that you're going to need to do like right now. Okay, but first let's see. So Lori, if it all sounds the same, it's because I'm the same. Seriously, Lori, it was like as I was like writing that out, as I was praying about this call, and I wrote that out, I was like, that was beautiful. It was like, whoa, God just like totally enlightened me with that moment. It was awesome. Yes, Maddie, go through your notebook from ICU, pick one thing to grow on and share with others. Gretchen, reread, are you up for the challenge? Notebook ideas. Ooh, are you up for the challenge? I don't think I've read that, Gretch. I'm gonna write that down. Well, who's the author on that? I can look it up, but if you have it handy. Okay, I love it. Oh, maybe, I think Jeff might have Rod Harrison's book. Perfect. Okay, thank you, Gretchen, for that recommendation. All right, Carity said, finish, restart the big leap. And just, start at the beginning, girl. You gotta just, all in one foul swoop. Okay, perfect. All right, I'll get that. That'll be on my list next. I'm reading Bishop T.D. Jakes' book, Soar, right now. Really good. But that Rod Harrison book I'll definitely pick up. Okay, tangibles. I love the mindset stuff and all of that, but there's something about like getting in the right mindset and then getting the tangibles that's like really sexy. You guys know what I mean? You feel me on that? Okay. So personal growth plan. So these are 4 steps to an intentional growth plan, all completely stolen from John Maxwell. Okay. So I'm owning that right now. He is genius level when it comes to leadership and personal development. And I have a video that you guys can watch that's going to help you dive into this even more, but I'm going to give you a head start. I'm going to give you a running start so that when you watch his video, it's like 30 minutes. I listen to it while I'm at the gym at least once a week. You will already have the notes and you can just fill in your own, your extra stuff that's just personalized for you. Okay. So get excited. This is going to be awesome. All right. So the first step, so remember 4 steps to an intentional growth plan. The first step is to make a commitment. Okay, make a commitment to intentionally grow. Now that sounds really basic, right? And then even when he shared that, I was like, John, I'm here. This is the commitment. No, you have to actually make that commitment to yourself. Okay, sometimes showing up, you guys, right? Sometimes showing up isn't actually saying that you're going to do that you're committing. Commitment is basically you're saying, I would have already done it if I knew how. To me, that's what a commitment is. That's not, I don't think John defines it, but like when I hear commitment, when I say that, I would have already done it if I knew how to do it, or if I knew how that person needed me to do it, right? That's commitment. We throw commitment around way too much, and people just know that they can back out of it and there's not going to really be any consequences. Hold yourself so accountable to the consequences of feeling as miserable as you do today for the rest of your life. No, I'm not saying everyone feels miserable, but what are the areas of your life that you really just feel like you're stuck? Stuck to me is misery, okay? So I'm just projecting on all of you. When I feel stuck, it's miserable. If I knew I was going to feel this stuck for the rest of my life, I would probably be screaming right now and not training you all. Okay, commitment. You would already be doing it if you knew how to do it. That's a commitment. The second step is to make your commitment public. I love how John says this. He says a commitment that is not public is worthless. I love how he just throws it out there. He's like, I'm old. I can say whatever I want. He's like, it's worthless. If you don't make it public, it's completely worthless. You will stray or give up. But the moment you make it public, you are more likely to follow through. Good enough for me. If John Maxwell says it, you guys, there's so much credibility in that man. Okay, make it public, whether that be putting it out there and Empower to Lead. I encourage you all to put it on in your public news feed via Facebook Live. I went there. Who's going to take the challenge? Okay, that is so important because then other people are going to be watching. All right, and that accountability, that if it feels like pressure to you, you have the wrong mindset about it. Okay, look at this as an opportunity to grow. Really, that's what it is. Okay, so the third step is to identify areas of growth. Now, he says at least 2, no more than 5. 5 is even pushing it. And the reason at least 2 is because you're going to pick 2 different areas to grow in, at least one area of choice and one area of skill. Now, the area of choice is something like your attitude or discipline or your environment, something that you have a choice in. Okay, something that you can choose to adjust. I love attitude is my favorite one. Choose your attitude is like my life motto. Like you just choose your attitude about stuff. All right, your area of skill, the second one is speaking, being more organized, something that's like a tangible skill. Okay, so you want to pick at least 2. I think 2 is a perfect number, 1 of each, so that you're always learning and growing in those 2 different areas, but then as you're honing one thing and you're starting on another. So there's always 2 things you can focus on. More than that, and even for me, it feels like too much, and then I'm not giving 100%. But if you're someone who can do 5 and nail it out of the park, great. I'm a 2, 1 of each. That's what's worked best for me. So with your area of skill especially, study everyone doing this skill. I love how John gave the example of speaking. He said when he first developed a plan, he wanted to be a better speaker. And so he would just study people who were speaking publicly, good or bad. And he would think about how are they connecting with their audience? What are they doing well? What are they doing that is just terrible? Like, what are all these different things? And he said after 2 years of studying people speaking, he was a phenomenal speaker. He's now in his 60s, maybe 70s. I think in this video he's in his 60s, but I never know how old they are. But he talks about, that was decades ago, you guys, decades and decades ago that he did this. And if you think 2 years is a long time to really master something and be good at something, think about the last 2 years of your life and how fast that went by. Unless you're 12, it probably went by super fast. Okay? 2 years ago, I only had 1 kid. What is my life? Like crazy. Okay, so 2 years is not a lot of time to master a skill and then be able to master another one. If you think about it like this, if you were to devote the next 20 years of your life while you're growing your residual income, becoming financially successful, all of this, 20 years, and every 2, not everything's going to take 2 years, but if you spent that 20 years, you could develop 10 phenomenal skills, like master them. Most people don't do that in their entire lifetime getting paid by someone else. Just food for thought. That's extra credit right there. Okay. And then the fourth one is invest an hour every day. Now, when I first heard this, I thought, oh my gosh, every day? And I immediately thought to myself, am I not going to make time for myself? Am I not going to make time for my success and for my growth? And of course I'm going to make time for it. So if I need to make an hour every day, I'm going to do it. And you know how easy it was once I just decided to do it, to find an hour? Do we need to go back to the time one? Because if you're having anxiety about that, just watch the recording, go back to the segment where I just talked about time, and just, you guys, you have to make time for this, okay? But he even breaks it down. How do you spend that hour? Prep, practice, reflection. Prep, practice, reflection. For that whole hour, you spend the first part of the hour prepping, and then you practice it, and then you reflect on it. Okay? So whatever those skills are, prep, practice, reflect. And then he says once a week, spend time jotting or journaling about your experience. So he's like, I rarely journal. And I was like, John Maxwell, really? I feel like everyone talks about journaling. All the successful people journal. He's like, I jot. Sometimes at the end of the week, I have 12 words, but I just jot those words, and they're amazing. Okay, so I'm giving you permission to not spend hours journaling every single moment from your week. Jot down the highlights and then keep going. Okay? Because the practice is more important than, you don't want like 5 minutes of practice and 5 hours of reflection. I'm not giving you permission to do that. All right? Okay, so those are the 4 steps to intentional growth. And then, but you guys, you have to share your growth with someone. Remember I talked about earlier, the people that are really freaking you out and you just don't want to grow because of what they might think of you? Okay, those are options for you, but also there are other people you can share your growth with someone. If you share your growth with somebody and they're happy, share again next week. If they aren't happy, move on and share with someone else. Okay? You just have to. You don't get to just stop because one person wasn't excited that you were growing. It probably means they're really unhappy in their life. That doesn't mean you should be too. Okay? Don't ever spend time on people who aren't thrilled with your progress. If you become intentional in your growth, you're going to outgrow most everyone you know. And that's coming from John Maxwell. If you become intentional in your growth, you'll outgrow almost everyone you know. It's worth it, you guys. Okay? Be the light for them. That's what helps me do it too. Because I'm like, I don't want to leave anyone behind, because one of my upper limits is disloyalty and abandonment. I don't want to leave anybody behind. Be the light for them. You're not leaving them behind. You're showing them the way. You can't drag them, but you can show them the way because no one else is going to. Okay? That I give you permission to do. All right, so the John Maxwell video that I got a lot of that I got that personal growth plan from is an Empowered to Lead. If you search personal growth, I posted it a while back, but you'll see it's called 2017 Let's Get It. All right, that's the name of his video. That's an Empowered to Lead. So search personal growth. You can type my name in there too, and it will come up faster. But that video is great for personal. He lays out the personal growth plan. Okay, he basically what I just gave you now, but he, in his own John Maxwell way, which is just like way better. Okay, and then your last couple takeaways before I want to really get some takeaways from you guys. Sorry, I used the word twice and it threw me off. Okay, so one of the things that I loved about personal growth that John really touched on with this plan is that you're only a good leader because you're reproducing other leaders. You're not a good leader because you have followers. And when he said that, I was so blown away by how accurate and beautiful that was. Because we don't want to being a leader can be really lonely. And that's how you know that you need to take a step back and reevaluate. You're a good leader because you reproduce other leaders. Okay? And you are not selfish for working on yourself first. There are certain people on this call, I don't know, I can't see all your faces, but I know for a fact there are, because I'm one of them, where when I want to focus on myself first, I instantly feel guilty. Anyone else want to call themselves out on the chat? Because I just did. Anyone else feel guilty about putting themselves first? All the moms will probably be raising their hands. The moms and the blues. I guarantee everyone who says something is a mom or a blue. Okay. You are not selfish for working on yourself first. It's selfish if you don't. Because if you work on yourself first, you're not giving people the last of you, you're giving them the best of you. That's a little Rachel Briscoe nugget for you, okay? I tell myself this all the time. If I don't take care of myself first, I'm giving my family the last of me. But if I put myself first, I'm giving them the best of me. I give you permission to not be selfish and go work on yourself first. Okay, that's all I have for you guys tonight. I would love to hear some of your takeaways in the chat. If you guys have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording for everyone who caught us on the recording. Thank you so much. And then I will happily hang out for a few minutes and answer any questions that you guys have. Have a good night, guys.